More than 250 experts in the traffic signals industry joined together in person to hear a range of papers here in Nottingham. These recordings are brought to you by AGD Systems, Colas, SRL Traffic Systems, Smart Video and Sensing, Vivacity and Unex Traffic.
Right, that's it. Thank you very much. Oh, sorry, I'm still on mute. Sorry, I just... yes, MOVA Users Group yesterday. It was somewhat of a surprise when Alistair said to me this morning, "Oh, I'm introducing you this afternoon." I thought, "What's that?" He said, "You're reporting back on the MOVA Users Group." Oh, I'd forgotten completely I was reporting back on the MOVA Users Group. So here we go. It's all being on the fly. First of all, thanks as always to the partners of the MOVA Users Group, because without them we couldn't run the MOVA Users Group. JCT always do the heavy lifting of organising the events and booking it all in for everybody, but then again the other partners actually front up for the cost of the event as well as presenting at it. So thanks to all of them, as always. Now, there we go. We started off last year, we had a virtual event, and it was started off at the middle of the last year when we were debating whether not to have it at all, and John took some sense into myself and Dan, and we ran the event, much as a trial for JCT as anything else, try and knock the bugs out of it, and we had 200 people there, which we thought was excellent. And yesterday we had just over 100 people at the MOVA Users Group. So we've still managed to keep the numbers up, and we want to continue doing that. So if you're here today and you didn't come to the MOVA Users Group, please come along in future. We had a review of that from last year. If you want to find out more details about that, we now have the minutes et al. On a specific page on the IHE's portal, set up purely from the MOVA Users Group. You don't have to be an IHE member, but why wouldn't you want to be an IHE member? Because necessarily we tend to represent what we do for a living more than other professional institutes. John Ball goes to run through some of the works that Danique have been doing and new interfaces that are coming out of that, and new developments around their outstation. Then Sam Alfield gave us a presentation on mid-block crossings and what he's doing around using MOVA 8 and different ways of actually configuring the junction to operate, to provide facilities for pairs, to operate within a bus corridor, to operate within saturated flows and still provide facilities for pedestrians. So yeah, once we get the PDFs up online, really have a look at that, because I think it's something that it's another example how MOVA 8 is going to drive MOVA forward more so than we've done during the last 10-15 years. Martin Andrews, all right, Martin, there he is, right up at the back there, taken over from Keith. We didn't necessarily give him the normal Keith. Well, tell us about licenses, Keith, and tell us about the cost of licenses. But we didn't run him through that one. There will be time enough in years to come for Martin to have to deal with the licenses. And then Devram came along and gave us some thought-provoking presentation. Devram is always good value for these things, because he'll talk about things, but he won't necessarily talk about what he does for a living. And he won't necessarily talk about microsim, and he'll make you think about various things that come out of microsim. And he was talking yesterday about what are we doing with traffic signals? What are they there for? Are we getting the most out of them? Are we dealing with congestion over emissions, which is the kind of thing that I know Margaret's talked about years gone by, and it's now that Devram's got things in his toolbox that are starting to come to fruition. We can start exploring that element. So again, once the PDF goes up online, have a look at that. Then in the afternoon, Ian Bond gave us a short presentation from Colas. Colas have recently come into the MOVA environment, having taken on the responsibility from motors. So it's fairly limited, but they're still moving forward, and hopefully they'll start to get a bit of traction, and we can start working with their kit on street. Dan Priest, well, let's put it this way. Dan was writing his presentation 15 minutes before we started, which is, those of you that know Dan would expect nothing less of Daniel. But it was highly entertaining. It was around something that at first sight is fairly strange and lightweight, and the way he presented it comical about actually numbering detectors. But at the heart of that is a kernel of truth that we should be going, are we dealing with designs appropriately? Are we working within a structure which everybody can move across from different authorities, different equipments, and people on street at 3 o'clock in the morning, can they understand how these things have been numbered with rain dripping down the back of their neck? And we had a good old interplay between Dan and the rest of it, and we've decided, when I say we, a couple of us very drunk last night, decided that next year we're going to have another Prove Dan Wrong session. So we're going to ask Dan to actually come up with something which he holds as a fundamental truth, and the users have got to come along and prove him wrong. Then we went into the TRL software, mustn't call it the lab, TRL software, and Mark came along and gave some updates of what TRL are doing around move rate and their expectations of how they can expand that. Took a few questions from users about some problems they've had. But again, move rate is starting to develop with that. We'll see things coming on more and more. And it wasn't the usual, let's all pile in and kick Mark to his bleeding in the corner session. It was more a cooperative thing from users than it has been in the past. And I think we all enjoyed it. And I think Mark even came away enjoying it. Then we talked about microsim, and Andy, is Andy here? No, he's not. He's here tomorrow, and I think Emma's had to go back and build another model. They were talking about microsimulation of MOVA and some jobs they've been doing along with their other colleagues in WSP, and some of the really clever work they're doing to connect PC MOVA 3 and the benefits that release has given them into microsim, and the fact it's starting to give more realistic elements, making their life as modelers easier, but equally saying there is a role for traffic signal designers to actually understand how microsim works. And the conclusion that Andy and Emma have come to is it's easier to teach you as traffic signal engineers micro simulation than it is to teach somebody that knows about microsimulation how to become a traffic signal engineer. So, when you're coming up for your PDPR and you've got no idea what else you want to be doing, you want to say, I want to learn about microsim, and your boss will have no idea what you're on about, but you can find a course to do it. And then Stewie Deakin gave us a little update about what Talent are doing, including, and we're chatting about at lunchtime, how their equipment is, as of right, will connect with Vivacity inputs. So it will give us a future connection. And then we had question time, something new. We had a selected number of our presenters at the front, just firing some general questions, allowing them to jazz about what came to mind around those questions, which is something that a number have said they quite enjoyed it and they thought there was value to it. So we will probably do that again next year. And that because I'm on the red. I won't go through the red. I'm not that much of a cyclist nowadays. But we'll just call it to the end there.